Dude, what the hell? What did you make me watch? Like, okay, I'd seen the movie before. And
Okay.
by the way, we're talking about time. Sorry, I have no time for introductions. I'm just gonna get right to it. Like,
That you feel that strongly, huh?
dude, I yeah, like for one, did it have to be 2 hours plus?
I
Like,
will give you that. It wasn't. It was 2 hours. I think the 3 minutes were like credits and shit. It was about a 2 hour film, and it did run a little slow and a very slow and a little long, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it.
yeah. See, I thought it was cute. I thought it was
Yeah,
cute.
it
Of
was.
course, it had my girl in there. I mean, okay, for one, there was none of the characters, oh sorry, none of the actors were bad. I mean, the actors I've seen in other movies that I've liked, so somehow, I don't know, the casting just worked for me in this case. There was nothing wrong with the shots as far as I was concerned. The story, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was supposed to be a comedy or a drama or whatever. I can't fault it for, you know, character like story maps or, character arcs and stuff like that. But it just seemed like his theme seemed to be that he was he was seeking love initially.
Mm-hmm.
So most of it, about half of the movie was spent with him trying to get this love interest or whatever. And then after that, it just seemed like the movie just meandered to the end. Like, okay, then it became about family and then he and his father's relationship. And I'm like, wait, is it like you guys just wanted to fill in the 2 hour runtime and
No.
just put in a bunch of this stuff? But whatever. Yeah.
I 100% agree with what you're saying about did it have to be 2 hours? So, because the movie was incredibly slow paced, because if you think about a movie, there's conflict and a resolution, and there's very, very minimal conflict in this film. I mean, maybe none at all. So basically, you're like the only maybe surge of a little bit of adrenaline was when his sister was in a car accident, and then you're worried about her because you think
Yeah.
she may die. Now, her sister gets into a car accident, I think an hour 20 or an hour 30 into a 2 hour film. So you're talking about somewhere between 60 to 75% of the film is completed until there's that surge of adrenaline or any form of conflict at all. And then you're not really that scared because obviously he has the power to travel back in time. So you think there must be some sort of simple story resolution here.
Solution.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I get what you're saying in that it ran very slow, and if you can get past that and then focus okay, so when it's this slow, you need the characters to be cute and likable for the audience to stick around, and I think they kind of were. um
Yeah.
but it definitely for sure was slow. When you say all the actors were good, I agree. I'm a big Rachel McAdams fan. Liked her here, liked her in Southpaw, even liked her in freaking Doctor Strange, where she had like 3 lines. Here's the thing, I don't think I don't think they should have cast Rachel McAdams to play the girl. I think they should have found someone slightly less attractive because she
Hmm.
played initially the little, the kind of insecure, dorky kind of,
Yeah.
and it's like he's this big old nerdy, dorky redhead who's a little socially awkward and everything, and it would just made better sense if the girl Rachel McAdams is a smoking 10 out of 10. She's a gorgeous woman. I think if they found a 7 out of 10 to play the girl, it would have been a little better for the story. But let me not focus on that. The thing about the
Uh,
film that I really, really enjoyed is okay, so you love an intellectual film. This, let me finish. You love an intellectual film where, as an audience member, you have to sort of think about it. Here, they kind of spelled out the message for you right dab smack dab. Like they laid it out, they spelled it out, they said it exactly as it was. My father told me to live every day twice. I learned to just live every day the way it is. I knew that would upset you. You were like, "Can we not just let the audience infer this or like something?" So I knew you would hate it. But think about the beauty of this. How many films are about seizing the day and living life and appreciating the time that you have, but told from a lens that's someone is running out of time. But this was the complete opposite. This dude has all the time in the world, but then reaches the same lesson, understanding the same lesson of live life, carpe diem, seize the day, blah 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 blah. That was the cute part of it, and that's what I liked. That it was a romance film, and I went into it expecting a romance film, and it was romantic. But then it was also kind of
Okay.
just about life. You know what I mean? It
Okay.
just the meaning, the theme expanded from something that was just a cheesy romantic film that's happened everywhere to something almost anyone can relate to. My issue was it what with it was sorry. I think there either may be something I didn't understand or there's like a plot hole, right? His father tells him to step in a cupboard or step in any place that's dark, clench his fists, and he'll go back to that time point, right?
Yeah.
So in the scene where he's rubbing sun cream on Margaret Robbie's back, like
Yeah.
really early on in the summer, he's out in a field, he's laying down, and then when he cocks it all up and he has to go back time, he runs out of the field and into a cupboard, right? When he goes back in time, is he in that cupboard again?
Usually that's how it works.
Right. So if he's in the cupboard, how does he go from being in a cupboard to back outside on the field with Margaret Robbie? Because they're inconsistent about this. Sometimes he's right where he is in a cupboard or in a dark area, and sometimes he's what you call it. He's like where he was in that point in time. So when he's sleeping with a chick, Rachel McAdams, I forget her name in the film. When he
Mary.
Mary, yeah. So he does the thing in the bathroom, but then when he comes to sleep with her, he comes in from the outside of the apartment. So how far back in time did you go, bro?
Okay, so I don't quite remember where he showed up when they were, after they did the do or whatever, or in the midst of all that. But it with Margot Robbie, whatever. What happened was that I think it was kind of like they cut it. It wasn't. He must have, appeared in the cupboard and then gone out and laid down in the field. But instead of them showing us the other part, they just
You know,
probably.
I assumed he had the ability to pick and choose, but then there's also another issue, right? When he says, I can't go back in time because I'm about to have this third kid, so I won't be able to see my dad again. The future is only affected if he changes something big in the past, right? Or he changes something somewhat significant in the past. And my thing is, you spent a lot of time with your dad playing ping pong. Why couldn't you just relive that part of your past that doesn't affect anything in the future? You're spending time in the past with someone who's dead in the future. So I'm not sure why him having a third kid would stop the ability of him hanging out with his dad, which was obviously a pivotal moment in the film. So that
um
part I didn't fully.
I tried to understand that part, and this is what I got. When it wasn't that having the kid might, at least from what I saw that happened during a certain scene, I don't think it's that having the kid prevented him from going to the past. I think what happened was that having like if he went so far back into the past, by the time he'd come back, he might not have the same kid. Remember the time when he, saved his sister, and
Hmm.
then when he came back, he had a son instead of a daughter. So he had to go
Right,
back
right.
and let his sister, basically get back into the get it.
Abusive relationship and get fucked up
I
in an
get an
accident
accident.
and
I was like, that was. I see. I didn't really get what the moral of the story was until they spelled it out in the end.
yep.
And sorry that I'm going to switch to something else.
So go for it.
You know how much I hate exposition. I'm sorry, not exposition. I hate when they tell rather than show. And they did a lot of that unnecessarily in this movie, but I kind of forgave it because it kind of made sense for him to tell the story of the past since he was a time traveler and he traveled to the past a lot. So it was kind of cool it was an excuse for him to tell a story of his past. But there were just scenes where it was totally unnecessary. Like we see the expression. These people are, good enough actors. They can convey this. Don't give us the narration. Like it's just very insulting.
Look, I 100% agree. They did a lot of telling. In fairness, show don't tell is a golden rule and everything. Sometimes you need to tell for the sake of moving the story along at a good pace. I think what they had here is they had like some scenes were not integral, and it just slowed down the movie. So, for example, that scene of Mary, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to take an item of clothing every time we figure off something for the wedding." Was there any reason for that scene to be in the film other than to show off how absolutely gorgeous that girl is? Like, I think the director was just like, yeah, just kind of want to make her take off her clothes. I mean, I didn't see a need for a scene like that. You know, there were. I kind of get why they brought Margaret Robbie back. Sorry, I forget her name, but they brought her back. I kind of get it to get him to propose and everything, but it ran long. There were a lot of scenes where it's like, dude, we know what he's about to do. He's about to go back in the past, and like, just move it
Yeah,
along, just move it along. And so
yeah.
I get what you're saying in terms of that, but I think there's only so much they could have shown and not told. And I think the moral of like, how do you tell the story of my dad told me to live every day twice, but now I don't need to live every day twice? It's a little
Here's
difficult. It's a little difficult.
No, I'm not saying every scene where he was basically telling us what was going on, but there were certain scenes where it was obvious I think at least to me and maybe to some other people, it was obvious what was going on, but then it's like you're seeing it and then he's explaining. So, but I mean, I guess that was a little part. The other things which I didn't like was something that you kind of mentioned, but I like the movie want to drive it home. There was nothing at stake
Yeah,
recently. I mean,
yeah.
basically in the movie, I mean, he could fix, whatever issues he had. The only the only time that it felt like, there was something at stake or that there was a repercussion was when, he went back to the past, saved the sis, and then, he came back and his kid was different. That was
Mhm.
the only thing. So it just felt kind of problematic. And also another issue with that was that I know that, he was the protagonist in a sense, or he was the main character, and we're supposed to go on this journey with him, but it didn't feel like he grew because, again, there was nothing at stake. So he was always going back to fix stuff. So it was kind of like he had practice, and then he would redo things. And then the one plot point or whatever with his love interest with Rachel McAdams or Mary was, I mean, basically he lost her because he did a good deed and then he cheated to get her. Like basically he used he went back with foreknowledge and basically told her everything that, he had no idea about, but because she told him or she'd mentioned it and then eventually got her and then that was never addressed. There was no repercussion. He didn't learn his lesson. It just felt like, I mean, yeah, things like that happen in reality, but I don't know why we would why we would care about this guy's growth if stuff like that is just swept under the rug.
You know, I can't agree more, and I can't argue, even though I'm a big fan of the film. So obviously, my inclination is to defend it. I can't.
Yeah.
There was minimal growth in the sense that there's no hero's journey in the film. There is no real conflict. You're right. There is nothing at stake, and that's what made the film so slow. And then there were these tangential things that I didn't fully understand. Like, why did you have the dumb uncle? What was the whole point of Desmond and that's impeccably well dressed dumb uncle? Like, I didn't really follow that. You know, there were elements that I think were good in the sense that, okay, so first of all, his not his acting, but the script when he first finds out he can travel in time is the most
Yeah.
unrealistic script ever. Right? He's like, okay, he accepts his dad's like, all right, fine, I'll get into a cupboard and try it. But he doesn't. It's not. That's not the style. Like he's like, okay, yeah, I'll go in a cupboard and try it. Like he seems so open and willing, which is kind of odd. I like that in the beginning, the guy he's all like, yeah, well, I'm gonna get rich, and his dad's like, hey, look, the men in the family have been doing this for years. Don't go for being rich. It's just not gonna end well. Like they cut out some of the quick inclinations a human would have when they could figure out they have a superpower, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna get rich, and then he's like, no, that's not gonna make you happy. The thing is, so when you're saying with the stuff with Mary or Rachel or McAdams or whatever, it really bugged me because we're along with the journey with him, so we understand the past and we understand that it was cute and we understand there's a connection. But when he time travels, he's new with Mary and she's not making decisions that I would assume a girl would make in her shoes. But he's so kind of unthreatening that I can see how she could follow along. But still, like if someone just came and then randomly said, "Oh, Kate Moss," and started conversing and telling me exactly how I felt about Kate Moss, my reaction wouldn't be like my reaction would be like, "Whoa, this is kind of fucked up and weird." And that's a point they didn't really address. Like she, the script kind of failed me in that regard of why she fell for him. I think there were good elements of humor, like when he sleeps with her like 3 times. I understand the second time was to fix the first time because like he messed it up the first time. I understand that. That was funny. The third time he slept with her, that's just because he's a dude and like why not? And then she was like, "Oh, so my perfect man can only go once a night." And he's like, "Well, that's not fair." And I'm like, "All right, that's funny." So there were elements of good humor like that, but yeah, the film was slow. Like if you watch it, just get over that it's slow. Um, well, I shouldn't say get over that it's slow. It's gonna be something that's a negative. I
Yeah.
think I will say the saving grace is the charisma of the actors playing the
Yes,
characters they're
that's true.
playing. So if you're a fan of Rachel, if you're a fan of I don't know the young man's real name, if you're a fan of their acting, film is a lot more bearable. But it for sure the pace is slow. I love that they had a fucked up wedding, but he didn't relive it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
hated that he had to ask her. This is the part where you say show don't tell. You didn't need to have him ask her if she was okay with the wedding being wet. We could see that they were fine and they were happy. So there, I understand what you mean about show don't tell, and I
Yeah.
think that's where the writer or director or whomever was made that call kind of messed up. Like, give us a
Yeah.
little bit of credit as an audience.
Yeah. Though I mean there were the okay, so even though I've said all these things, it doesn't mean I didn't like the movie. I thought it was cute.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean and it's the second time I watched it. Now would I have watched it another time? I don't know. I think it's a movie that you watch it kind of depends on the mood. It's not a movie that you're gonna watch, you know, a- any day. It's just one of those.
I'd watch it again if maybe I forgot some of it, and then was just in the mood for this type of film. But no,
There
it's
you
not
go.
gonna be. It's not gonna be my go-to kind of watch it at any point kind of thing. It's because nothing happens, and it's just about a writer who had this lesson to tell us. The writer had a lesson of cherish life, live life, and he just made a movie to show us the importance of that. If you don't want to
It's
learn that lesson, or if you've already learned that lesson, there's no reason to sit through it again. The actors are charming and charismatic,
uh,
not enough to sit through 2-hour film for it. Maybe I would watch it again 2, 3 years, 4 years down the line, maybe when I forget it, maybe when I'm just in the mood for a nice romantic rom-com. Maybe sometimes you
yeah,
just want to watch a film you've seen before so that you can play on your phone or go to bed.
yeah.
But
Eh,
all in all, I genuinely enjoyed it. I tried to find a romantic film that just not like I love Sleepless in Seattle, but I didn't want to make you watch Sleepless in Seattle because I
thank
can
you.
only imagine like the barrage of bullshit I'd get from you when we did the podcast. So I tried to
Uh,
find a film that was romantic, but not just about two people in love. And I was like, about time that might work, you know?
Here's the thing. I've seen these kind of movies. I watch them, once in a while. But again, they're movies that I watch only when I'm in a certain mood or when I can tolerate stuff like this. It was a little bit hard to watch it the second time. And also, certain other issues. And I know I'm going back and forth because of course I'm remembering them as time is going on. But it was funny how he started out, like when his character was introduced, the impression that I got, or the impression based off of what he was saying, was that he was insecure when he was like too tall, too skinny, too orange, or whatever. So I was like, oh, this guy's insecure. You know, he doesn't have a lot of self-love. But then all of a sudden, that kind of disappears. Now, fortunately, he doesn't become too confident as the time goes on. But in the like once he meets Rachel,
Mary.
sorry, Mary,
No, you're fine.
that just kind of disappears. Like then Mary's the one who's insecure, and it's that first meeting when they were out in, I don't know, was it
Hmm.
on the street or whatever, was
Yeah,
kind
the
of
restaurant.
annoying.
She,
It was like yeah, we knew that, yeah, she was probably agreeable and one thing or the other, but it was like it got drummed. It was something that the basically hit us over the head with, like, she's like, yeah, she wants to be liked, and then she's saying stuff like, oh, you like me, oh, I hope I
you
see you again, and whatever, and she says it in quick succession. It was just
again, I'm not going to argue that point too much. What I will say is this: I don't think he suddenly went away from being dorky and lanky and things like that. I do understand what you're saying, though. They didn't fully they didn't hang on to that part, but there was really no reason to. He was dorky and lanky, but then he found the girl that he liked. He works as a lawyer. There's really no point to stress on that dorky point. The thing that bugged me is that someone as beautiful as Rachel McAdams shouldn't be playing a character that's insecure about her looks, shouldn't be playing a character that's so much of a wallflower or whatever. And that's where I think if they had went with a somewhat less attractive female to play that character, it would have been a lot better at selling it. And that's taking away from nothing from Rachel because she acted very well in the film, not addressing her talents. It's just the role doesn't fit someone this attractive. It's like hiring it's like making a Scooby Doo movie and then hiring who's the friggin' A, I forgot her name, Kate Upton to play Daphne, not Daphne, Velma. You know what I mean? Like no, she doesn't play Velma because Velma is the nerdy like like you know what I mean? Like you
yeah.
gotta cast the person in the right role, and I think they sort of failed at doing that there. But so yeah, I can't. I mean, I've said what I need to say about that.
And then the final thing I'm going to say about the movie is, okay, giving us this indication time and again that she was insecure, because that wasn't the only scene where they showed how insecure she was. Even when she was turning around, how many times, just hoping that he doesn't disappear or whatever that was supposed to signify. Minutes later or whatever, when she finally met his family, she emphasized that point again when his mom asked what her flaws were, and she said she was insecure. But there was but it wasn't used for anything else. Like, yeah, she was insecure. They drummed it home how many
Hmm.
times,
Hmm.
but it didn't go anywhere. So that's the last thing I'll say about the movie. Cute movie. I'd
I
say
see your point.
mostly well done, but um, not my everyday movie. But sure, please see it. It people work hard on these movies, so I'm going to be nice from now on, not to say anything extra negative.
You know, I agree. They did stress her being insecure or whatever a little too much for the plot. Uh, yeah, yeah. I definitely enjoyed it. If you're a fan of rom-coms, it shouldn't be too bad of a film because there is a strong romantic vibe for it. If you just enjoy movies about life, I think this is as close to a home run as you're gonna get. Just be patient. Uh, just be patient. That's all there is to it. It's a 2-hour lesson that has cute moments along the way. But yeah, you're definitely not gonna be like at the edge of your seat or gripped. But you know what? I'll work on finding a romantic film that's not 1970s love story or Sleepless in Seattle for you, man. I mean, honestly, like the next romantic film that I can think of that's not like super in your face with the romance is Deadpool. And I don't know if we want to jump back into the superhero film world, but yeah. All right, guys, this has been our review of About Time. I apologize sincerely for the video lags, video quality. We're just having a little bit of internet issues. I'm in Egypt, cut me some slack. Usually, I can my for some reason the Wi-Fi at my place is trash, and I have to use my phone's data, and I ran out right before this podcast. I apologize for that. Um, I don't think we've decided on the film that we're gonna review right next. So just join in next week, and it'll be a surprise, I guess. Thank you, and Keaton, you want to say goodbye?
Oh, you've pretty much said everything. I'm still reeling from having to watch this movie and talk about it, but um, thank you guys for for hanging out with us, and stay tuned. Talk
Dang,
to you
I
next
really
time.
thought you would call them motherfuckers or something. Like I was waiting for it.
Nah,
This
my
is how you
my
know.
mother's lessons are finally
This
coming
is
back to me.
this is how you know Akeem is not in a good mood. Because if he's in a good mood, the first thing he tells me is like, "What's up, motherfucker?" Like if he doesn't start off a podcast like that, just know he either didn't like the film or something is fucking up his life at that day.
I mean, even in real life, usually when I see people that I genuinely like, I can't help but call them motherfuckers. But
I know.
I'm I don't know. Maybe I'm becoming more polite. We'll see.
All right, guys. Thank you, and we're out.